All right, time for some early morning Rekieta retardation. I've been meaning to talk about the American Beauty thing for a while because this has been like one of those things that's really interested me about Nick. Something that's come up like time and time again on Kiwi forums and my Discord. Like hearing him talk about this movie has always been interesting, and I've never been able to find a good clip, like a good example of what he's been doing. Well, I'm sure there have been dozens. I'm sure, like he talks about this movie all the time, but like I've seen him say like some really odd like weird things about this movie, like how he seems to like revere it and how he seems to like treat it like almost like it's his personal bible, like his guide to life basically. I've mentioned this offhand several times, but I haven't really taken the time to talk about this because this is some fringe like autistic Rekieta lore. Okay, this is like some of the most autistic bullshit you'll ever hear me say, like me psychoanalyzing a guy and his opinion on a movie that I haven't actually watched. Like this is gonna be like unbearable, I think. And I watched Kino Casino react to this clip already, and honestly, I think Ashton said a lot of the same things I'm gonna say. I'm just gonna make that clear here. I'm not just copying Ashton. I've been thinking the same things for a long time. But let's go ahead and see what.
What's your take on American Beauty, Dick?
I like the gay stuff.
You like the gay stuff? Oh, so the gay men?
Oh no,
Yeah, I like
Dick Masterson making us question his heterosexuality every year.
the king me stuff. Um,
It's literally and unironically my favorite movie ever made. I
oh,
think
it
it's
is
the best
mine.
movie. I think it's the best movie ever made.
Yeah, it's. I have to watch it again and see how I feel about the.
Yeah, the way Nick talks about this movie is just bizarre. How he always just emphasizes how it's like the greatest thing ever and some like amazing experience for him. But like when he talks about like why he likes it so much, like the implications are just like shocking. Especially when you think about what this guy is actually like and what he's doing and what's going on. Like right now with his like it's just like it is downright appalling. And honestly, like I would argue this is like the earliest sign of like Nick's degeneracy is that like he's such a fan of this movie, which, as I understand it, is like really popular with homosexuals and other degenerates. But
Underage sex fantasy.
No, that's the thing. First of all, she's a senior in high school. You have no idea how old she is.
Oh, yeah.
I looked it up on TV tropes just to fact check this. Like according to TV tropes, she's 16. So I don't like it's so weird. Like Nick says he loves this movie, but if you can look up a source and like specify on like how old the character actually is, and like you've seen other people repeat the same thing, like oh, like it's almost like yeah, like she probably is underage considering like her situation and like everything that's happening in this movie, like the context of it. Like yeah, why would you assume this girl is 18, like considering like what happens in this movie? Like it's just Nick trying to make excuses like ha ha, I'm not a pedophile if she actually turns out to be 18. Like it's like uh, come on, Nick.
Oh yeah, so she could be 18.
Second
My
of all,
girlfriend taught me. She said, watch every HBO show and anything where there's a teenager. Somebody will always say something about them being 18. Like, oh,
yeah, they
well, you're
have to.
18 now.
It's a legal requirement. They
Isn't
have to
that
be 18.
crazy? Then
Yep.
I can't not see it now.
Yeah, if they have a sex fantasy, people don't know this. If you don't know, in a media representation, the character that is the object of sexual affection must be 18. If you have an underage sexual character, like the person has to be arrested or murdered or whatever.
Mm.
And Kevin Spacey is
But that's what happens in American Beauty though. Like Kevin Spacey's character dies from my understanding. So like Nick is like refuting his own argument that like oh uh, she is 18, right? Like but she's not though. Like it's like Like Nick doesn't know what his narrative is.
He's not actually killed because of the underage sex fantasy, because he stops prior to actually offending.
Okay, so this is Nick's projection. Okay, like PPP has said this. I know he said this. I know I'm not a copycat. I swear. Like I've been thinking the same thing for years. But like Rekieta has this weird like relationship with this movie where like he projects himself onto the character of like I think his name is Lester Burham. I think like the protagonist, like Kevin Spacey's character, the one who decides to like forgo all of his adult responsibilities to live for himself and like ends up getting killed at the end. You know, like I think he like quits his job and like does all this messed up stuff, like disrespects his family and stuff like that, and like tries to have sex with this like 16-year-old girl. Like my that's my understanding of what happens in the movie. But like Nick does this thing where he like tries to glamorize it, where he tries to make the character out as if he's some tragic character, some tragic guy who just wanted to live his life the way he wanted to, right? Like he always tries like making this guy come off as if he's endearing, as if he's like someone to root for, someone who should have just been allowed to do whatever he wanted, right? Like again, this is what I get. This is where I get the whole projection thing from because everything he says, Kevin Spacey's character is stuff he's doing right now. Like his complete refusal to back down from being hedonistic as fuck is like basically what he's projecting onto this character, right? Like it's absurd, but
which is very important for the character as well.
Yeah.
I've talked about this a bunch. People are like, "Wow, he's infatuated with an underage girl." It's like, no, actually, she's
Not really.
she's not underage. Probably.
probably. Like you know that for sure, Nick. Have you seen her birth certificate? Like, like if you have to put probably she is underage. Okay, if you have to like if you have to put that in quotation marks, like she's a minor. Okay, like you shouldn't even look at her. Okay, like don't do it. Like it's a terrible idea.
They leave it a little ambiguous, but you get the impression that she could certainly be 18. And second of all, when he goes to do the thing, he stops because he finds out that she's not a virgin. He thought she was a whore. That's the whole purpose, was he was going to fulfill his fantasy. When he found out that the chick was actually just an innocent girl who was a virgin, he's like, holy fuck, what am I doing? And he stops.
Yeah.
And that, by the way, is what gets him killed. Did you know that?
Yeah, so Nick's claim about what happens in this movie is that because Kevin Spacey doesn't have sex with this underage girl, this leads to like him getting killed like a couple of minutes later. Like if he had only just stuck it in, he would still be alive doing hedonistic stuff today. Like, right? Like he would be still doing what he wanted, living life to the fullest, living for himself today if he had just stuck it in.
Because he walks outside after that.
No, it's because Kevin Spacey indulges every single thing that he has denied himself the entire movie. His entire life, Lester Burnham.
Yeah.
He's denied himself everything.
But what happens when he denies her?
He stops denying himself.
Right.
For a year. For an entire year, Lester Barnum says, I'm going to improve me. And he does. And the moment that he goes to improve himself,
the way it sounds is that like he doesn't improve his life at all, right? Like doing all this stuff, like it seems like he destroyed his life, if anything. Like I think in reality, I'm not sure how the movie portrays it, but like this guy would be living very selfishly, right? He wouldn't have anybody around him who cares about him at all. Like it's like he would alienate everyone around him. Like he would have no relationships, nobody would respect him, right? Like there's a reason people don't act like this, right? And yeah, Nick is is the poster boy example of that.
One more time with this like sexual fantasy with whatever, and he stops himself with morality. The one thing he's eschewed the entire time, that's when he dies. Right after that. Literally minutes.
Oh yeah. Okay.
It's crazy to think about that.
Yeah, that's cool. That's like
Yeah, like PvP hit the nail on the head here. Like PvP might be like better at this than I am. I don't know. Like what I one of the reasons I was like seriously considering not reacting to this was because I know PvP kind of nailed the whole subject. But I suppose like, I might as well say the same thing here. Like Nick is condemning his own self-professed Christian morality, right? To him, like being a Christian is just like a status symbol that he can use to like get respect from other people and like be around his wife or whatever. Like his wife is involved with the church or whatever. Like it's just a thing he pretends to be. His actual values are completely different. The things he actually cares about, the things he actually wants to do with his life, the way he wants his life to go are like disgustingly degenerate, right? And he keeps doing this thing where he's like, oh, everyone around me is just being a prude. They don't know how to have fun. Like conservatives, they don't know how, like, it's not possible for them to have fun because they abstain from like doing any of the fun stuff that I do. But like, I've been saying this for a long time. Like, does it look like Nick Rekieta is having fun? Like, does it look like he's living a good, fulfilling life? And the answer is no. Nobody, he does not want to admit it to himself, but like the decisions he's made have been incredibly self destructive. Like, his worldview that seems to have been like shaped by this like degenerate movie is inherently self-destructive, right? Like it does not work, and he cannot, will not bring himself to admit it.
not a serious man. It's kind of like that too.
Yeah. Someone
see
says
that?
still creepy. Yes, it is creepy. Like that.
It's supposed
That
to be
is-
creepy.
It's creepy because he stops.
It's literally
Like,
he goes. He's lived his entire life as a proper human.
Yeah.
His entire life. He's 40 something years old, and he hates everything about his life. He hates his wife's a bitch.
so he had a midlife crisis, and he just throws the entire rest of his life away for that. Like, come on! Like the movie sounds dumber and dumber the more I hear about it. Like, I've been curious about seeing it like for the longest time because of Rekieta's fascination with it, but I haven't gotten around to it. Like maybe next week, maybe we'll take some time to do it.
Life as a proper human.
Yeah.
His entire life. He's 40 something years old, and he hates everything about his life. He hates his wife's a bitch who is trying to sell real estate and fucking some other guy. His daughter hates him, even though she used to be his best friend. She hates him because of what he has to do. And why does he have to do it? Well, because his wife's a bitch. Like that's the reality. So his wife has by proxy shattered his relationship with his daughter. And so he's just trying to reconnect. It's actually the most beautiful moment in that entire movie. People don't get this. Is the very end. He's shot in the head. He's dying. He's bleeding out. And he starts saying the poem about the most beautiful thing in the world. Like he thinks he's going to be overcome. It goes through him like rain. But everyone's like, oh, wow, that's gay. Like the bag has come full circle. But then he says one thing and it shows a picture of his daughter. And he goes, I think her name's Jane, right?
Janie. Yeah.
He goes, and then there's
He doesn't even know the girl's name. That's hilarious.
Jane. And it's this moment where a father who has fucked up his entire like he not only like he lived the wrong life, he tried to fix it and he fucked it all up and he died.
Wait, so wait. He's saying that like quitting the job and like trying to have sex with the girl, that was the right thing to do? Like come on, like okay. I had to turn my life around at one point in my life, right? I did the exact opposite of what Rekieta said you should do, right? I cleaned up my act. I ate better. I worked more hours. I got better jobs. Like I did something. Like I can relate to the idea of feeling trapped in like a job you hate with people you can't stand and like, being surrounded by a family who hates you, right? Like I talked about all those things, but like at the end of the day, like I overcame it. And this is what frustrates me so much about Rekieta and people like him who like enable this kind of thinking is that they really act as if the idea of overcoming these issues and like becoming more than that is like beneath them, right? They really think that their way of thinking of like being degenerates is like the only way to live your life. That like living a fulfilling adult life is completely impossible, and that the only thing you can possibly do is like live for yourself as much as possible. Like forget everything else, forget your responsibilities, forget your family, like forget everything. Like just live for yourself, bro. That's gonna make you feel fulfilled. But it doesn't. And like I keep saying this over and over again, Rekieta is an example of how that doesn't work. Like Rekieta's own like self-professed philosophy about how this movie and how it relates to him is like it's disgusting. It really is. Like it would never. It just doesn't work, right?
But he knows that for just 1 second, right before he passes, that his daughter's going to be okay because he prepared her for the world to come.
Did he though? He abandoned her for an entire year. You know, that's gonna leave some traumatizing scars, bro. Right? Like, oh, you can do whatever you want. Your kids will be fine. Like, no, they won't. Like, you need to be there for them forever. Okay? As long as you possibly can. Okay, that is incredibly important. And like, uh,
And he saw for a moment, right before he died, that she was rejecting him, she was rejecting his wife or whatever, but he's like, well, we transgressed. She's going to be good. And he has this moment of recollection, recognition, and acceptance, and it's the best part of the whole movie because that's what every dad does. Like they go, I've poured my entire life into this kid, and he realizes that she'll be good without
but like, you're.
him, and he sends her off like a boat or whatever.
But he should have fucked that girl.
Yeah, Dick Masterson, like with the real with the real hot take here. Like, come on, Dick. But like, yeah. Again, like I said, this is what people mean when they say Nick is projecting, because the whole thing about like, well, the kids will be fine without the dad, like that's pure projection, right? Like he's not there for his kids, he's not there for his wife, he's not there like at all. He's not doing anything, and that's very self-evident to like anybody who knows him. Like his family, you know, I'm sure I've had an intervention. You know, the church group, like his fans online, well, what remains of his fans, you know, he straight up has detractors now. He straight up has people like me making videos like this. Okay? Like everyone telling him the same thing. What you're doing is retarded. Rekieta retardation. And he just he will not admit like what he's doing is not only self-destructive, but is impacting other people. His actions are affecting those around him. And I think that is the most disgusting part of this. Like one of the things that really motivates me to keep making these is just like the sheer fact that so many people in his life are getting their lives destroyed because of this. You know, at the very least, you have his wife and his 5 kids, you know, like who have to deal with this guy every day. Like this guy is like driving drunk all the time. Supposedly he's like driving them everywhere. Like he's not managing his finances well. There's like some revelation on Kiwi Farms that like the nanny has like complete control over like the food budget and she's spending like $4,000 a month on snacks or something. Like you have like the Mustang thing. Like I keep expecting like you know, one of these days we're gonna get word that like he dies in an accident, you know, like with the Mustang, with like, you know, some of his kids. Like it's like this is gonna end really badly. Okay, like I've I've been, I don't know if I've said this openly, but I've thought about it. Like this is going to get extremely dark. And I think the scariest thing is I really don't know what's going to happen next. Like I really don't.
Didn't
And he'd be alive.
because Yeah, if he would have fucked the girl, he would have lived. That's the crazy thing. If he would have done the transgression, he would have lived. But he did the right thing, and because of the right thing, he dies. He fucks it all up. It's weird.
She would have loved it though.
But life
Ouch.
punishes you sometimes for doing the right thing, Dick.
I know. I get punched every day because I'm always doing the right thing.
You've never done the right thing in your life.
The
The internet told me. The internet told me. Maddox told me you've never done the right thing. And everybody goes like, why is Nick talking about American Beauty again?
Okay, that was I would like to see like him talk about this in more detail. If anyone could like dig up clips of things he's done, that would be amazing. I would really like to see that. But yeah, as it stands now, let's look at the comments section and then we'll sign off. How ironic. That's not what irony means. That would be Racket's favorite movie. A story about a vile hedonist doing and engaging in terrible behavior after pretending to be like the people around him. Finally ridding himself of the shackles of morality. Sounds familiar. It's like poetry. They rhyme. George Lucas. Yeah, was that quote about this situation? Is like George Lucas is George Lucas a fan of Rekieta retardation? Because yeah, it seems like that quote is very applicable to this situation. Let's see. Next time, Nick is going to explain why Lolita is actually a beautiful love story. I could see like Vito doing that. Once you identify as a libertarian, the more likely you'll become a diaper bandit. Yeah, fuck libertarians. I really am getting tired of their nonsense. I swear Nick's interpretation of the ending of American Beauty has morphed from a year ago. At the start of the Coom era, he described Lester Burnham as a man who didn't give a fudge and liberated himself from all of his shackles. But then he went one step too far, dabbling with the teenager, which was wrong, and the universe immediately punished him for crossing the line. Now Nick seems to be interpreting the final scene as Lester being killed directly because he didn't cross the line and did the right thing by backing down. Nick explicitly says that he'd still be alive if he'd just gone through with it. A very fitting choice for a man who wants to get away from his family and live a life of hedonistic pleasure. Never seen American Beauty, but everything I've heard leads me to believe that it's one of those movies that film nerds will read more into that is actually there. I may be wrong, but that is just the vibe I get. Yeah, same here. One of the reasons I haven't watched it is because I am 100% sure I'm not going to like it. He's not doing himself any favors constantly bringing this movie up, but it makes sense. Probably very relatable to him. Leave it to Nick to get it entirely wrong. Major spoilers here. Lester would have died no matter what because his wife and daughter are planning on offing him. Actually, he died because the hard-ass military dad next door tries to kiss him and he very politely stops him. The hard-ass can't live with the secret being out, so he kills Spacey. But he would have died anyway. His wife has a gun in her hand. Daughter and BF are also planning his demise. But the most beautiful thing is that he's proud of himself for not indulging his urges, which is all he's done off the chain all year. He's thinking of his wife and kid while crazy neighbor comes in and shoots him in the back of the head. So he feels nothing and dies with a smile on his face. He is at peace and that's what matters. Nick needs to see it again because this is all wrong. The beauty is that the man would have died sleeping with her or not. He decides not, and that's what's important. He dies without the guilt. Let's see. That makes a lot more sense than Nick's version. Yeah, I agree. Like, Nick's version seems like pure projection. Knowing all this material Nick constantly provides, it's not trolling anymore to assume that Nick shouldn't be around minors. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure I disagree with that. Nick really used to be such an erudite, a master of rhetoric. This is what giving in advice will get you, becoming Gollum, a shadow of his past self. Let's see. She's not underage, probably. Nick is a lawyer, right? Let's see. Okay, yeah, I think we're done here. Okay. Yeah. Wow, that was like a 6 minute long video and we went like for quite a long time. So yeah, crazy situation. His obsession with this film is honestly one of the more interesting things about him for me personally. I love this kind of thing, like seeing how people react to the media and just like spurg out about it and just come up with their like crazy perspectives on how it works, like what it means and stuff like that. Like it gives a lot of insight into like what these people are actually like, and Rekieta is a textbook example of that. Like this movie is like his how he sees his life. And to me, that is extremely pathetic.